we are back one more time. Episode 243 of...
The Horror Guys! Yay! I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're going to talk about some horror movies.
4 movies and a short, as always.
We liked some this week, and we didn't like some so much.
That's pretty typical.
It's typical, yeah. We're going to talk about some movies in a short, eh?
Well, what do we got?
Well, we got some new stuff. Newish. Mostly
newish.
Yeah. Insidious, The Red Door, which was out this year.
That sounds scary.
And The Blackening, which was a comedy horror from last year.
That sounds scary.
A short film, which is a brand new one. Candyland, 2 words.
That doesn't sound scary.
2023. The game is all one word.
Yes.
The movie is 2
Candy
words.
Space Land, yes.
Yeah. And Viking Wolf from 2023. An international film.
Very cool.
Werewolf one.
All right, and those are the ones we're going to talk about here today. If you want to join up on our mailing list, our free weekly email list with 1 email a week and no spam, go over to horrorbulletin.com and sign up with your email. And if you do, you'll be able to read the reviews of all of those, plus
Count Dracula from 1970 with Christopher Lee.
I think of all the Dracula movies, this is probably the closest to the book.
Yeah, I think so. But that's
unfortunate. That's
too.
For better or for worse. If you've read the book, the movie's kind of dull. You know exactly where it's going.
And it's not a lively movie. Yeah.
But it's not a lively movie. No, it's not.
And we also saw The Collection, which was a 2012 sequel to The Collector.
We kind of hated The Collector.
And we liked The Collection way better.
The sequel is better than the original, yes.
Yeah, that's a rarity.
But anyway,
yeah.
Yep, go over to horrorbulletin.com and read those 2 extra reviews. Or go to horrorguys.com every day where we have 5 reviews a week on there, 4 movies and a short, same as the podcast.
Diggity.
You can also go to horrorguysshop.com and pick up some of our many books, including Horror Bulletin Monthly, which is our monthly compilation of all the reviews we do every month. Usually 30 to 31 reviews.
August will be coming out soon.
All the movies, all the shorts. Actually, it's the September issue, which contains August's reviews, is coming up within a few days.
Okay, technically you're right.
Technically.
September issue has August movies.
Yeah, it's kind of...
I keep calling it the other way.
Kind of backwards like that.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, what do we got first?
Insidious, The Red Door.
Directed by Patrick Wilson. Written by Lee Winnell and Scott Teems. Stars Ty Simpkins, Patrick Wilson, and Rose Byrne. Hour 47 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free. This is a years later sequel to the first movie. So if you haven't seen 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 12, whatever there are, if you've seen the first one, you're good. This one has little Dalton, grown up and headed to college. It was kind of interesting seeing all the same actors of the first movie in the same role years later.
And it's about the right number of years, too.
Yeah, it has been 10 years.
Yeah.
The parents and the little brother Foster, as well as Dalton, are all the same actors. But we thought it was kind of dull and slow-moving, low on action, and low on thrills until just a little bit of payoff right at the end. It gets there, but it's a bit of a slog. And I think I dozed off for a minute or 2 in the middle of it. It was sloggy.
I didn't doze off, but yeah, it was sloggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not.
It kind of bogs down and churns for a while.
I liked the first one fine.
It was okay.
It was okay. Yeah, it's not the greatest. It's all right. That's the one with the red lipstick face demon, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And The Further. Yeah.
Lots of hypnosis and astral projection stuff.
Not the underside, like the
upside down, you
things.
mean?
The upside down. Yeah.
Or The Furthering, or the next movie, The Blackening. It's not all the same.
And the Poltergeist movie did that. The Poltergeist remake, we got to see it's the same kind of thing where it's
alternate dimension.
That's overlapping with ours. Yeah.
All right. Well, spoil it for us. What happens?
I am going to.
Well, maybe not all of it because it's pretty new.
Yeah,
not everybody's seen it.
We don't want to spoil it too much. But you know what I realized seeing this, and then we recently rewatched Aliens, how much I have mixed up William Hope and Patrick Wilson over the years. And for a while, I thought they were the same. I thought it was Patrick Wilson in Aliens. Lieutenant Gorman, the head of the Marines.
Which I didn't even know that actor's name until you mentioned this a week or so ago.
Yeah, for years I was thinking that was Patrick Wilson in Aliens, and then I realized,
it's a little old for that.
And there's an age difference. Yeah, but the resemblance is there anyway. It confused me. But we're talking about the Red Door. So, Josh Lambert and his son Dalton. This is a flashback to the original. This is immediately after the events of the original. They get hypnotized by Carl to forget all about the last year and the further. They will all only remember that Dalton was in a coma and recovered.
Yeah, I don't think hypnosis is nearly as strong as this movie
to repress
implies.
All of that memory. Yeah, that's pushing it.
This hypnosis is so strong, the entire plot of this movie is because of that hypnosis.
And 9 years later, they still haven't remembered. Well, Josh's mother, Lorraine, has died, and everyone is there for the funeral. Dalton and Josh don't get along well anymore. Carl the hypnotist is there, and he pretends not to know Josh. But Josh has a weird feeling about the man, and doesn't quite remember. Something on the tip of his tongue about that guy. Well, we see something creepy behind Josh as the credits roll.
There's always something creepy behind Josh.
Yeah, he does that a lot. Well, Josh drives Dalton to school. Dalton's an art student now, taking classes with Professor Armagon. And other professors, probably. She's the only one we see. Josh tries to be friendly, but Dalton is aloof and mostly gives Josh the silent treatment. Josh apologizes for being foggy the last few years. Chris Winslow, a girl, comes in, and she's his new roommate.
That's not supposed to work like that.
This is one of those comedy of errors where she's got a androgynous name, and so the computer matched her up with a guy, and they're not supposed to be that way.
Because computers know androgynous names like Chris. That's got to be a guy, right?
Yeah,
yeah, computers think like that.
That happens in movies sometimes. So anyway, they're stuck as roommates for now, and there's an argument between Josh and Dalton. Josh kind of cries all the way out to his car. Well, Dalton and Chris talk about themselves. They get along good. Dalton says he forgot an entire year when he was 10. He also admits that he's afraid of the dark. Well, Professor Armagon is strange and kind of mean, telling the students to tear up their favorite drawings, except for Dalton's, whose work she likes. And then she does this kind of almost hypnotic thing where she tells them to go into a trance almost and draw whatever their soul tells them. And he draws a door. Well, elsewhere, Josh dreams about that same red door.
You notice whenever anybody goes off to school somewhere, they're taking art or something visual. You never see them like sitting through algebra class.
No, just the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Josh decides to go for an MRI to figure out why he's so foggy all the time. Strange things happen inside the big machine. The door is open, someone tells him. Well, the doctor tells him he just went to sleep in the machine, and the test went fine, there's nothing wrong with him. So the doctor suggests counseling. Well, Dalton has a similar experience in his dorm room. They seem to be kind of linked here. Dalton and Chris go to a frat party. They get separated, and he sees some strange things, but Chris thinks he's kind of lost his mind. She eventually asks him, and he does admit that he's seeing things. Well, meanwhile, Josh is seeing things too. He sets up a memory game that the doctor suggested, and a man breaks through the window and chases him upstairs, a man who's not really there, and he ends up finding a box of old photos.
I'm bored with this description even as you read it. This is not an exciting movie.
Well, it kind of goes back and forth, and they see things
How
that aren't
scary
there.
is forgetting things because of hypnosis.
And we know that's what is going on.
The memories are breaking loose, and they're starting to see things, and oh my God, we're an hour and 20 minutes into it by this point.
It gets awfully sloggy, yeah. Should we stop there, though?
I would.
Don't wanna, yeah, well,
I'm about to start snoring.
Stall. It gets some kind of interesting things at the end. Their memories do kind of come back, and stuff does happen more toward the end, but yeah, it just didn't seem worth it.
Okay, well, it's got creepy lighting and atmospheric effects, and it all looks really good. Of course, it's a very high-release movie, high-release budget, so it should. But it's so slow and boring. For the first 90 minutes, Josh and Dalton see things that may or may not be real. Literally nothing real happens until the very end. The majority of the film is just Josh and Dalton trying to break the hypnotic block placed on them. It's predictable, generic, and boring as hell.
We don't give it a thumbs up.
I give this one a real thumbs down.
Yeah.
This is my least favorite movie of the week.
Oh, of these four that we're going to discuss, yeah.
You didn't
me
like
too.
Count Dracula.
I liked Count Dracula
Yeah,
less.
it was boring too, but
I thought that was less entertaining than this, but of these four, yeah.
if you haven't read if you haven't read the original Dracula book, Count Dracula is not bad.
You might find it more
You just thought it was
interesting.
boring because you'd read the book.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, this one just sucks. All right,
Let's
then.
go on to something better then.
Much better, yes. The Blackening from 2022, directed by Tim Story, written by Tracy Oliver and Dwayne Perkins, stars Grace Byers, Jermaine Fowler, and Melvin Gregg. Hour and 37 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, this was very well done and very funny while still keeping the horror elements. And it touches on a lot of horror tropes, many of them relating to people of color, and pokes fun at them very effectively. It's a good script and a skilled cast, and we both liked it a lot more than we expected to.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, very entertaining.
I don't have a specific list of horror comedies, but this might be one of the better ones this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's really excellent.
All right, again, this one's new, so I'm not going to read the entire thing. With all of these, if you want the full spoilery review, go to horrorguys.com and type it in the search box, and you can read every bit of it right to the end. But we're not going to kill it for you here. Well, Sean and Morgan are two black people in a cabin in the woods. There's something creeping around outside. Doors are opening and closing all by themselves, and Morgan talks about horror movies. He shows her a cool game room with a board game in the center called The Blackening. It's the most racist board game ever.
It certainly is.
Morgan is a little curious about the rules, so she draws a trivia card, and they both laugh about black people always dying first in horror movies. Even the movie poster for this, it's "We can't all die first."
Yep.
Well, they look at each other strangely, and the door closes behind them as the board game laughs. Yes, they prove the rule. The black people died first. Credits roll. Okay, well, Morgan has invited her friends to the cabin for a Juneteenth reunion, and all 8 of them are coming. It's been 10 years, and they all need some fun. Dwayne is thrilled to see everyone except Namadi for some reason. Clifton and Shanika run into each other at a convenience store, and they argue Android versus iPhone. Well, that's, iPhone. The whole group arrives at the house, and Ranger B. White is there giving King... B. White, huh?
Ranger B. White, yeah. That's his name tag. Yeah.
He's the only white guy in the movie, too. He's there giving King a hard time.
No, he's not. There's the convenience store guys.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's giving King a hard time about being at this cabin, because he doesn't look like he belongs there. They show that they have legally rented the place, and the ranger leaves. They joke that Allison has a white father, so she's like the painting of a zebra on the wall.
Yeah, not quite.
King makes the sugariest Kool-Aid, strong with vodka.
Yeah, that's something. I mean,
Yeah,
he just
that's
dumps
really,
it in.
that's something.
It's like half vodka, half Kool-Aid, and
Half sugar.
And half sugar. Yeah.
Lisa tells him diabetes is the blackest thing ever. He then makes fun of Namadi, who never really changes. King, on the other hand, has changed. He doesn't carry a gun anymore, and he's settled down all married and stuff. Dwayne is all introspective and moody until the Molly kicks in. Lisa and Namadi get it on, just like they used to back in the day. She's cheating on Dwayne. Before long, everyone knows their secret. Well, Shanika arrives, and she brought Clifton with her, and he's a nerd. Everyone wonders where Sean and Morgan are, but they don't get too upset at their absence.
Yeah, I think he was channeling Urkel a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's having a good time until the lights go out. Then they all wander around in the dark until they find that game room from earlier.
And that game is just something. They find the Blackening game.
Yep, and no one's interested in playing that. But each person has their own custom-made avatar in the game, even Clifton, who wasn't actually invited to the party. The door closes and locks them in. The TV switches on, and the Sambo face on the logo shows us that it's not broadcast TV.
Yeah, it's like that old hold pattern. I think it used to be
With the Indian
a
head?
Native American head
Yeah,
in the middle, and instead it's a Sambo head.
Yeah.
Custom made. Well, in the Blackening game too,
It's the
has
same
the
head,
most
yes.
the most stereotypical the old style There used
I
to
think
be
it's Sambo, the
cartoons
character.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, Sambo. It's a Sambo head in the timer dial in the middle. Yeah.
Well, they watch Morgan tied to a chair on the TV, and the TV speaks and it knows their names. If you answer 10 questions correctly, you are all free to go. If not, she dies. Refuse to play, and you die, just like Sean did. Well, the timer on the game works by itself, and the voice from the board speaks to them. They get the first 9 questions right, but then the game cheats about the TV show Friends, which no black person should ever admit that they watch.
Yeah, that was quite they're struggling to... Wasn't the question something along the lines of black people on Friends?
You name 10 black people who appeared on Friends.
And they barely come up with the names.
They answer it, but
and
that's
then,
not the answer.
No, the correct answer is no, you should never watch that.
Well, the game room door opens, but they can't get out of the house. King then pulls out the gun he denied having earlier and shoots through the door, which releases the killer, who shoots King with an arrow twice. Are there any white people who want to kill us? And somebody answers, well, potentially all of them. Well, they all get locked back in the game room with the game, and they're told to sacrifice the blackest among them. They argue about who's the blackest. When Clinton admits he voted for Trump twice, they all decide he needs to die.
So
well,
we should stop there.
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah. Will Clifton die?
Maybe.
Maybe. What will happen next? Will they all die? Because, it's the Blackening, and it's black people in a horror movie. But the poster says we can't all die. You're left wondering.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of funny bits here. I especially liked it when, at one point, Namadi pulls out a gun and points it at somebody. He's got his hand twisted sideways gangster style.
Yeah, and one of the other Clifton reaches over and twists it
Don't do it
straight
like
up.
that.
Yeah,
twist.
don't do it like that.
There was a joke there about the O'Reilly Auto Parts song being so catchy. I don't get that.
I don't. It's not that catchy, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, most of the humor is African American related. Is that something that I don't know? Do they cater to black people?
No,
O'Reilly. It's just a car parts store.
Yeah, so far as I knew.
Well, it plays on a lot of horror tropes, many involving people of color, and they really nail it on a few of them.
Yeah, it was.
It took a long time for me to figure out what all the jokes about spades were. They're talking about playing the card game Spades.
Uh-huh.
And the more you think about it, the worse the joke gets.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Well, anyway, then we moved on and we watched a short film called You're Not Home from 2023, directed by Derek Ugochukwu, written by him also. Oh my goodness, these names. Stars Ashraf Tumahirwe, Aaron Katambe, and Barry McAvoy. 10 minutes, 26 seconds. And this is one you can watch right now on YouTube. Just click the link in the show notes.
And you should, because it's very good.
What's it about?
2 African brothers look at some strange mold growing on their ceiling, but they don't want to complain about it. This is like a housing unit, apartment kind of thing. At dinner, they see something nasty in their soup. Some girl tried to expose the food, but she got deported, so they can't complain.
This is like some sort of immigrant halfway house. You know, people come over on a boat and they stay here before they get
transitioning to citizenship and jobs and so forth. They're recent immigrants, and they're in the process of getting settled in Ireland.
And they don't want to cause any trouble.
Yeah, they don't want to have to be forced to go back, so they're kind of stuck. Well, the brothers continue to hear and see things, telling them both to go home. The older brother tells the younger that everything was going to be fine.
It's not fine.
Yeah, not so much.
Well, it's definitely similar in a lot of ways to that movie His House from 2020. Where there's a link here in the description to go see the review on that one. But with young brothers instead of a married couple in this one. As with that film, it shows an aspect of life that most of us never see. How terrifying is it to be an immigrant in a very strange new world? You did say it was Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange. Okay. It's bad enough even without supernatural visions and monsters.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, that would be terrifying and upsetting to be uprooted like that.
And then deal with ghosts
under the best circumstances. Yeah, and then something like this happens.
And next up we have Candyland from 2023, written and directed by John Swab, stars Olivia Luccardi, Sam Quarton, and Eden Brolin. Hour 33 minutes. Trailer in the show notes.
So if you say it in the mirror 3 times fast, a game appears on the table for you?
Candyland.
Oh, that's different.
No, when you say it 5 times in the mirror, a truck stop hooker appears on your table.
Okay. Well, there's plenty of sex and violence in this one, with a little cult religion thrown in for good measure. And it doesn't make working at as a sex worker at a truck stop look very much fun, really. It doesn't. It was interesting to see how that works. There's like rules and how it's done, and it wasn't quite what we expected, but we liked it a lot.
Well, if you read the description on the website or whatever, it talks about a girl trying to escape a cult and the cult doesn't leave her or something like that.
And
you're expecting something like, she escapes and the cultists come after her viciously and violently, and that's not it at all.
No.
Well, in 1996, a man and a woman have sex in a truck. She gets out and walks through the truck stop parking lot as credits roll. She appears to make regular rounds among the different truck drivers, and this truck stop seems to get a lot of action. She even sets up customers with her CB call. They call the place Candyland. Okay, so there we go.
Yeah.
There are several working girls and one working guy who all talk about their customers in the parking lot. And by working girls, we mean the oldest profession.
Yep, and the guy is too.
Yep. A van load of religious people stop and begin proselytizing, and Theo says he'll show them all the way to the kingdom of heaven. And he prays over them and then leaves. One of the girls, Sadie, soon finds a pamphlet from the group in her room, and she reads it. Well, Sheriff Rex drives by, and he wants Levi to go with him to do something we don't get to see much of on screen.
Sheriff Rex likes Levi a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Well, Sadie finds one of the religious girls, Remy, in her spot, and she's been abandoned by the others. Riley, another of the hookers, finds a dead man in the restroom, so they call in Sheriff Rex. There's lots of blood in there, but a lot of it is Riley's, who's having her period. Rex tells Nora that they have no idea who killed the man, or even who he was. They plan to take him to the morgue and just bury him in a few days. Apparently this sort of thing is not too unusual, and they try to keep the fuss to a minimum.
Yeah, Rex is, he's not their pimp, but he's definitely covering for them.
Oh, he's in on
it. He's fully in on it, fully on board, and yeah, he takes care of things.
As long as he gets his samples.
Keeps things quiet. Well, as long as Levi keeps liking him, and yeah.
Remy spends the night in Sadie's room. She's been abandoned by the cult. The next morning, all the characters converge at the truck stop for breakfast, and they all have fun showing Abby what normal people eat. She's never seen a hot dog before. Remy is confused by the prostitutes' lifestyles, but she says she can never go home, so she's probably going to join them.
Mm-hmm.
That evening, Nora invites Remy inside for tea. Nora talks about how all her girls are really good kids. We have a rule. You stay, you work. If you stay, we'll take care of you. You want to stay with us for a while? Well, Remy's never been kissed before, so Nora fixes that. The next morning, all the hookers explain how everything works to Remy. The sheriff turns a blind eye to all of their work.
Mm-hmm.
Nora has lined up a gentle customer for Remy, and he'll be her first. Outside, Levi picks up a guy who wants to go to the back where it's more private. This goes badly for Levi, who is knocked out and raped. Then it goes worse for the other guy when Levi turns around and beats him to death with a pipe.
Awkward.
Well, there's a knock at the door, and Remy opens it. It's a priest, Father Philip. Or at least someone role-playing as a priest. We're not quite sure.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that, if he really was.
It could go either way.
It could go
it's
either,
never really,
it could
it's
go
never
either
really
way.
explained.
Yeah, he's weird either way.
He's very soft-spoken and quiet, but she's afraid of him because she's never done this before. He then takes his teeth out, and things between her legs gets weird. She resists a bit, and he starts to struggle until she kills him by squeezing with her legs.
We should stop there.
Then she probably should, yes.
And that was unexpected. I was not expecting that.
There's a lot of unexpected in this.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, so keep in mind now, when you're watching this is absolutely a Christmas movie and belongs in the Christmas rotation.
It is Christmas time, yeah.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, one guy even shows up in a Santa suit.
Well, the movie trailer makes it sound like it's about a cult, but that's not it at all. At least not mostly.
That's kind of in the background.
It's very, yeah.
Yeah.
It's well-paced and looks really good. I actually learned how truck stop hookers work, so it's even educational.
It is how they do the signals and various things, at least in 1996.
That's true. This was in the past.
Now they might use an app for that.
Well, I think that's why it's 96. There's no cell phones.
Yeah.
There is plenty of blood and murder to go around, and it is surprisingly good.
Yeah, it was. If you like sex and violence.
If you're looking for comedy, The Blackening is the best this week. If you're looking for straight horror, I would say Candyland is the best this week.
Yeah, I think so.
Viking Wolf is up next from 2022, directed by Stig Svensson, written by Espen Auken and Stig Svensson, stars Liv Mjolnir, Rhiannon Mueller-Osborne, and Arthur Hakalati. Guess where this is from?
And as you can tell, this is a Norwegian film. It wasn't English, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dubbed, most likely.
Yeah.
Hour and 37 minutes. Spoiler-free. It starts out with the Vikings and quickly hops to modern Norway, where a story with lots of similarities to Jaws unfolds.
Yeah, we noticed that about halfway through.
If you made an outline of the movie Jaws and changed the names and the shark to a wolf, you'd have the same movie, only a werewolf.
Yeah.
It was quite good, with lots of creature action, good acting, and a script that was entertaining. Okay, so spoil some of it for us.
Well, we start out in 1050, when the Vikings brought 20 ships to pillage Normandy, and after they did, they found a wolf cub left behind a locked door, so they took it with them. Well, none of the Vikings returned home. And then credits roll.
Oops.
Yeah. 1,000 years later in modern Norway, Thale tries to sneak beer out of the house to her boyfriend Jonas. Arthur wants her to call him Dad, but she won't do it. Thale admits to her friend that her mom is a cop and she killed someone at their old home. The kids tease Thale about being a murderer, but she's heard it all before. Well, night falls, and one young couple is attacked and dragged through the woods as Thale watches, and a wolf howls in the distance. So she's traumatized, and the mayor's daughter is missing, and the boy is in shock. Liv comes to the police call. She's on duty. That's mom, cop mom, and Thale tells her what happened. Liv finds a big claw embedded in a tree. Well, after questioning everyone, Liv and Thale talk about her dead father. Layla's still bitter. Liv wants the police force to go out hunting for wolves, but the chief says they have more important leads to follow up on. Well, they eventually find Ellen's body, and it's a clawed-up mess. She's dead. The coroner thinks this doesn't look right as a wolf attack. So Thale goes back to the scene of the attack and hears someone calling her name. At the university, where they've called for help, the police, the professor sends William, an animal expert who's a veterinarian scientist, to help and identify our wolf, as the professor calls it. So this is the young expert who's going to come to town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that night, a man breaks into the morgue and looks at Ellen's body. The next day, the same one-armed man, Lars, comes to the police. He's the predator hunter.
He doesn't have a boat, but he's Clint.
He's the hunter, yeah. He tells Liv that they're looking for a lycanthrope. He's been hunting these things for his entire life. He calls it a werewolf, and Liv thinks he's a lunatic. The bloodline must be broken, he insists, and he also shows her a box of silver bullets, and he gives her one. Well, Thale, the girl, has a wound on her shoulder that no one's really mentioned before. She tells Liv that it's fine, but she starts feeling ill in the morning. Her hearing starts getting hypersensitive, and she freaks out in class. She gets several visions of Ellen, who blames her for her death.
Yeah, and that's a good place to stop.
It is.
So we've got the police sheriff, we've got the college professor expert, and we've got the grizzled old hunter, and they're going to go out on their boat, and they're going to need a bigger boat.
They're going to need a bigger boat.
Except there's no boat in this one, but yeah, it's Jaws with a werewolf covering.
Uh-huh. And the cop who's, gradually begins to realize what's going on, and there's real similarities.
And it's a coming-of-age werewolf story, too.
Yes, it is.
All right, so anyway, it's straight from Jaws. We get it. Okay. The werewolf visuals don't show up really much till later in the film, but they're pretty decent, okay. They're mostly CGI, but mostly okay. It's not the best you've seen.
But the movie itself overall is good.
Yeah, there aren't any great surprises here, but seeing a werewolf movie shot in Norway was kind of interesting and makes this different enough to be worth a watch. If you're not a Norway expert, this is going to seem like a very alien kind of place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There were a lot of attacks in this film. I mean, there's like 100 dead people by the time it's over.
Yeah.
Did none of them get bitten and survive?
And we do see people flee in these various scenes.
Yeah.
So
You know what happens if a werewolf scratches you or bites you?
yeah, because Thale gets infected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Liv injured at the bite at the end? Did she or didn't she shoot the werewolf? We have many unanswered questions.
Which kind of made it cool, too.
Yeah.
It didn't completely answer everything, but yeah. Was the bloodline severed? Yeah, probably not.
All right, and that's all the stuff we're going to talk about this week. Don't forget to go over to horrorbulletin.com, sign up, and read Count Dracula from 1970, starring Christopher Lee. Does not have Peter Cushing in it. Christopher Lee and Herbert Lom, Klaus Kinski, and Maria Rohn. And it follows the book very closely.
Yeah, it does.
We also watched The Collection that had Josh Stewart, Emma Fitzpatrick, and Christopher McDonald in it. And it's a sequel to The Collector from 2009. You know, the serial killer who puts traps everywhere.
The same guy that was the main guy in the first one. He was a survivor boy at the end, and he's in this.
Sort of a survivor boy. He got captured at the end of that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't look like he was going to survive.
Well, he was the collected. He was...
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for this week. Next week, we're going to talk about some sequels, some numbered movies.
We've been watching lots of sequels.
We've got the Last Voyage of the Demeter, which was we both liked. Mm-hmm. We did both like it, right?
We did both like it.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I think there's something else new from this year on there. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what.
It'll be a surprise.
It will be a surprise to all of us. But I think September is for sequels.
Sequel month.
We're going to watch a whole bunch of movies that have numbers at the end of their names.
And there's a lot of them out there.
Oh, there's thousands, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have been somewhat negligent. We watched the first movie of pretty much everything already. Now we're going to start getting a little caught up with some of those part 9s. Yeah, so many of these franchises go up into Friday the 13th.
They go on forever.
I think 13. Halloween has 13. Hellraiser's at 10 or 11. I don't know.
Amityville is just insane.
Amityville, that's ridiculous. There's like 60
stopped
of
doing
them.
Numbers. Yeah.
Here's some homework for you for next week. Go to Tubi and type in the word Amityville. You are not going to believe what you see there.
What is it, about 35 that are just on Tubi?
They have at least 30 of them, yeah. The Amityville Outhouse, Amityville, what was it, Haunted Bloody Toilet or something?
Yeah, I think
something
so.
like that.
Yeah.
Some crazy stuff from Amityville.
Anything you can imagine, they have stretched out on the Amityville.
Yeah, the original house and story is all copyrighted, so they can't use that. But Amityville is the name of the town.
Amityville's just a town.
You can name anything the Amityville. This is the Amityville podcast, if we wanted to. Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk to you next week when we'll have a whole bunch of sequels and stuff. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
See you next week.
See ya.